Welcome to the Escarpment. This is my model railway HO build channel and I'm your host Jason. So today's video, part 2 of the Freemo modules. What I'm going to do is take you through and show you how I align my end pieces together, as well as looking at the method on how I'm going to attach them and fix them together when they're in use. Now there has been a slight change of plans there, but we'll get to that in due course. Once I take you through that, I'll come back at the end of the video. I'm going to sort of talk through what are some of the next steps with this Freemo, but also have a bit of a chat about the escarpment and where I am and what's sort of happening with that. I know there's been a few questions of late with people concerned on whether was I given up on it, where are you, what's happening, that type of thing. So I'll just touch on those points, but all is good in that area. Anyway, let's head off over and I'll show you how I attach my modules. So as part of bridging together the modules, what I use these DCC concept alignment dowels, and you can see there's the male, there's the female. They connect like that and it's very, very snug. They'll sit like that into the wood. And then when you take them apart, bring them back together multiple times, they'll always line up. So you always get a true alignment with what you initially set up. So that's why it's very important when you first set up, make sure these are flush, your edges are right. Once you've got all that set, tighten up your clamps. I use clamps underneath just to hold it in place. And then from that point, I'll come in, I'll use the pilot drill bit, and I'll choose, depending on what's underneath, I'll choose a couple of areas. It doesn't really matter. Again, they're just the alignment pins. So first up, I'll come underneath, I'll drill those pilot holes. Then from there, I can take these modules apart because I've got those pilot holes as your guide. And then on the outside of the face, I'll come in with this 19mm drill bit and drill. It's probably about 2 to 3 mil thick, this first plate. I need to make sure that's flush with the end of your module. So, I won't go heavy-handed. I'll just take a little bit at a time and until that's flush. And you're thinking, okay, well, hang on a minute, you haven't drilled your inside holes. How are you going to make sure that's flush? For this part of it, I'll use the female and I'll turn it around that way and just check the flushness on the inside edge against that fascia. And once that's right, then I'll come to the other side, use the 13mm drill bit and just drill out the center. And then that should be centered into the hole right. I must admit, on my first 2 modules, I sort of mucked up one of the steps a little bit, and I was just out by about a millimeter and a half up top here. So one was higher than the other. So I've sort of just come in and planed that down. And once they're together with the cork and then sanding, you won't notice it. That was just due to the fact that when I did the 19mm first, made it flush and that was fine. But then I came in from the front, and as you know, when you come in from the front with this 19, this centerpiece here is going to make your pilot hole a little bit bigger, not match that one. So you could be a little bit out of sync. So it's best to come from the other end and then drill out that hole from this end of the pilot hole. And that should erase the error that I initially did first up. But anyway, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go underneath. I'm going to drill the 2 pilot holes. So now you can see I've got my 2 pilot holes. That's also the same on the other module that the camera is sitting on at the moment. You can see there if I wobble it. So the next step is basically, as mentioned, I'm going to come in with the 19mm and we're going to take out probably about 2 or 3 mil, just so this, and hopefully I've got that right. You can see that edge right there, just so that's flush with this end plate here. Best to do little bits at a time, don't do it in one big go because you could go a lot deeper. Checking it again, just got a little bit more to go. I'm going to do the same for this hole. That looks good. Okay, so I've got both sides of the end plates done. What I need to do now is come in from the inside and drill with its 13mm all the way through. So now you can see I've done the inside drilling, and you can then push these in, see whether or not they're flush. Maybe you might need to, depending on the drill piece, sometimes it can make a little bit of mess of the wood inside, so you might just need to sand it a little bit. And I've done this side as well, and that looking good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to come in, and you can get in underneath and just push it out a little bit, grab that out. I'll come in and just sand a little bit up here, make sure the wood, all the stray fragments from the drilling is cleaned up, and that should sit in there fine. Then the next piece, what I'll do is I'll come back, I'll use a bunch of wood glue just around the inserts and on the inside of the lip, then push it in. I'll do that with all four. And then what I'll normally do is bring the two modules back together, just clamp them together, just so they fully align properly, and let the glue set. Give it a generous amount of glue on the inside the lip and on the thread itself. And have a cloth nearby so you can wipe off the excess glue. That looks good. I'm going to do the same for this other one. Clean up around the outside there. Make sure I don't have too much, no excess glue there where it's going to be hard to pull it apart when I put it together. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring the two modules together and just give them a light clamp while the glue sets. That just helps then getting it back into position if there is any slight movement that needs to be had before the glue sets. Okay, so I've now brought the two modules together, got them clamped, so now those dowels will dry hard in those spots, and it should come together neatly like this each time. I've already got the track plan done in Anyrail. I've got it printed out. That's the middle sections there, and then I've got this end, and I've got that end. And then what I'll do is I'll piece those all together, just sticky tape them and sort of lay it out once the cork's down. And it just gives me an idea of where the track work is, and it also helps visualize and whether or not I want to make any tweaks before I go any further. I originally was going to use, I guess, a clamp. It sort of changed my mind. I think what I'm going to do, I've gone out and brought myself quite a length of this threaded rod, and you can see here I've already cut a piece off. It's about 280mm, and then I'm going to use these Richmond, I guess, hand nuts on each end and tighten up. And you're probably asking, why is this so long? Well, if you sort of remember the build part of these modules, I've actually got blocks under there where I've got the legs positioned, and where I wanted to tie it together was basically where those blocks were. So I needed to drill holes right through those blocks on both sides. Of course, these threaded rods were so long, I didn't have a drill piece that long. So basically, again, I put two modules together, clamped them together where I needed them, and then what I did was drilled from one end through to the face plate on the other module, and then because I had then a hole just started on that side of the other module. I drilled it all the way through the other block on the other side and sort of did it in two goes. You can see here, as mentioned, done one already. And then basically, you know, be able to get under there and then tighten from both ends. And you can see there, that's the idea behind it. And then you've got the blocks here, and then you've got the middle face plates from each of the modules in between. So it's long enough and it'll be just tightened up. And there'll be two at each end of the module, one for each side. There'll be one on that side, there'll be another one on this side. I still need to go and do some cutting there. And I've already got this module and the next one already drilled out. So I'll come back once I've cut out the rest. I'll come back and sort of show you underneath on how it looks. So this is what it looks like underneath. You can see the rods there with the Richmond nuts. Same on the other end. You can see why I had to make them 280 millimeters, because I had to get past these length blocks on each side. But you can see there's a good length. You can see some patching there. Or these aren't so much patching. That's where my alignment dowels are from DCC Concepts. But this one up here, I just patched that hole because I redid that hole, because on the other side it was on a short block and it went through the side of it. So anyway, patched that up and got the bolt in place now. And that's basically for the middle section and the two outer ones, that's basically how I'm fixing them together. So those were the methods on how I attached the end-to-end of the Freemo modules. I've got 3 modules to the whole section, and that's basically how I've aligned them, but also how I'm fixing them together when they're in use. There are lots of different methods. That's just what I've used. If you've gotten any ideas off that, that's great. If it's something that, you know, not going to work for you, that's okay as well. This channel is just about my journey and how I'm doing things moving forward. So where to from here? So I'm getting close now, finishing off these modules. I've just got a couple brackets to steady them up a little bit, probably just one on each side. I'm going to do some diagonal from the bottom of the legs up to the middle of the main body for the 2 end pieces. I've already done a slight diagonal one here for the middle piece, and that should just be enough, you know, just so it's not swaying like a tree would in a 100-kilometre wind. So as you've sort of seen, I've already started laying some cork on top. I'm going to come back to where the end pieces meet. I don't think I'm going to take the cork right up. The cork I've got at the moment, very flimsy, and it breaks off quite easily. So I'm thinking of taking the cork back at least probably about 20 mil and maybe putting in a 3mm plywood just on those end sections, button them up, just so, you know, when they get knocked around, you're not going to have things breaking off as such. The next one will be about the track plan. I've already got that together behind me. I don't know if you can see that. So I'm going to put all the modules together, put that on top and have a look at it, make, I guess, a decision on whether does any tweaks need to be done, and then I'm going to start laying track. Now, will the next video be about the Freemo? I'm not sure about that. I'm sort of having a look at the Escarpment. I know a lot of people have reached out going, holy shit, have you given up on it, blah, blah, blah. No, I haven't given up on it. You know, this was meant to be a major retirement project, and I'm still 5 to 6 years out from retirement or a semi-retirement. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do there. So for me, there's no great big rush at this stage to keep ploughing through like I have been over the last 6 years. I think I haven't realised how much I've actually done over the 6 years and how much time it's gone into this. So I've sort of given some time back to the family. They've been really patient with me. My wife's been, you know, really good with what I've been doing. So, you know, I just need to make sure I'm not milking that cow too much, if you know what I mean. And I'm not calling my wife a cow. Potentially the next video I'm just going to talk about a few things that I'm looking at, and I really do want to get back and just do some of that terraforming. I think it will give me the motivation to press forward. I think over the last few months, the motivation has been in different areas and not so much on this escarpment at this point in time, only due to the fact that, you know, I've been at it pretty heavy for 6 years. Maybe the next video I'll come back and it'll be more on the escarpment before I do the next video on the Freemo. Anyway, we'll see how that turns out. So until next time, bye for now.